Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mind Muscle Connection podcast. Today I have a interesting topic I want to go over around really any tool or any effectiveness. The effectiveness of any tool really depends on your body's current state. And so I'm going to go over what that means specifically and why I think a lot of people end up talking past each other on social media when it comes to health and fitness. But first, today is the final day to enroll in my 12-week performance recomp method. It's my one-on-one coaching program. I'm going to close the doors until probably early in the year, early 2026. So if you've been thinking about it, now is the time to do that. Again, the link to that is in the show notes. You can also reach out to me on Instagram and we can set up some time to chat, or you can just ask me some questions on social media there. So again, if you've been thinking about it, now is the time to at least look into it there. So let's talk about today's topic. So most people apply tools, right? Calorie deficits, fasted training, HIIT, low carb, high volume lifting, low volume lifting, keto, fast inter days, calorie cycling, and protein sparing modified fast. Hey, don't drink coffee after or before 3 hours before you go to sleep, or that is one that you definitely don't want to do. But you have to wait 90 minutes to drink your coffee. Hey, you need to take this supplement. This is the best supplement. This is the best training program. This is the best diet. Like you just see literally anything and everything. But the problem is a lot of these things don't ever, or again, take fast, right? Like women should never fast to train, or women respond differently to a deficit, or they shouldn't ever be in a deficit. Like the problem with this is it never considers the actual state that your current body's in. And that's really ultimately what's going to come down to if a tool is going to be effective or not, is your body's current state. Like, where is it at? And because of this, because people are just saying, hey, you should do HIIT, HIIT's good, HIIT's not good, low calories, right? Calorie surpluses, all these things. That's why people end up talking past each other on a lot of these things, because it is very context dependent and it is very dependent on the person and the state that their body is in, or the state your body's in. So again, most people apply these tools, and so that's why people are talking past each other. So again, one coach will say something like, hey, fasted training is fine. And then that's why you hear from another coach, it's, oh, you never need to train fasted. It's going to wreck your hormones. Your training's going to be terrible. The thing is, both may be right in the right context. But when you're not clear on what your body actually needs, this is where it leads to confusion, frustration, and constantly hopping from one strategy to the next without ever seeing lasting progress. So this is why if you take in any information, you're going to hear multiple different things. Oh, I heard this, but I also heard that. And again, I just feel like things are very context dependent and most people are not considering those things. That's why somebody will try HIIT for a little bit. Maybe it doesn't work for them for whatever reason. Maybe it didn't work. And so now they jump to the next thing like, oh, hey, now I need to do low carb there. Maybe that worked well for them. So now they tell everyone that low carb works and people start to promote that on the internet and then you resonate with that. And then that's where you get these camps. So it goes both ways, right? It goes both ways in that somebody who's not seeing results or they don't know what the hell they're tracking or looking for will do something and then it doesn't work for them. And then you try the next thing. So you're constantly hopping around. But then you also have the person that they do something, it works for them. Now they tell everyone that's the best thing in the world and they don't really understand why it worked for them. And then so now they try to apply that all the time. And you see this, oh, when I lost weight last time I did this and this. That's good. That worked for you then. But where are you at now? If you keep doing that, if you keep crash dieting, training a ton, you lose weight, but then now you lose a bunch of weight, you lost some muscle in the process, now you gain a bunch of weight back, now you have less muscle, and then you do it again, and now your body composition gets worse and worse. And then as you age, it gets harder and harder to do that there. But at the end of the day, your body's current state is going to determine what will work and what won't. So here's what I mean. Let's take fasted training. So I'm going to give you a bunch of examples here. We'll talk about them. Fasted training. Somebody has low stress load on their body. They have good recovery. Likely not an issue. Now you take someone who has a high stress load on their body. They have poor sleep, also a heavy training load. Maybe they're in a deficit as well too. And then they have all these other stressors on the body. Now this could lead to other issues. So maybe fasted training is not going to be great. Maybe for that person, we need to get them to eat a little bit beforehand. So again, it's very context dependent on what you've been doing to your body. Now we can, again, look at blood work. We can look at biofeedback and see where these things are at to see if that's going to work for someone. And maybe somebody feels better when they train fasted and that gets them to consume enough calories throughout the day. Or somebody is overweight and they're trying to drop some weight, maybe by training fasted, that gets them to be into a deficit throughout the day. Let's take calorie deficits. You haven't dieted recently. You have some body fat to spare. Your habits are in a good spot. You're probably going to respond really well to pushing a calorie deficit during that time. Now, you take another person that just finished a cut, already lean, have poor lifestyle or nutrition habits. A deficit may do more harm than good. So in that situation, that person probably needs to eat closer to maintenance. But you take that person who hasn't dieted recently, they have some body fat that they can spare. Overall, their habits are in place and they're in a good spot to drop body fat. Then we can push it and we can get you to drop body fat. But If you've been trying to lose body fat, you have terrible new lifestyle or nutrition habits, a deficit may not be as effective for that person at that time. We may need to work on habits and have them eat at maintenance. Let's take a high overall training and activity load. So we're just talking, hey, a lot of times you'll hear people say, oh, training a lot is bad. We don't want to train a ton. There's going to just be a bunch of fatigue. You're not going to recover. That's a bad thing. And so now people don't train enough. But maybe somebody really enjoys training and they want to train a lot. This is going to depend. Are you well fed? You have low stress load on the body. You have good sleep and recovery. You might thrive with more total output, lifting, cardio, steps, even sports. You're going to be able to get away with a lot more. Now you take someone who's in a deficit, they're sleep deprived, they're juggling a ton of life stress. They have a lot of stress on their body. Maybe their training methods aren't the greatest. And it's just, okay, I'm just trying to burn as many calories as possible. That same output can drive burnout and stall results. So we have to take those things into consideration. Let's take fast versus slow weight. You have higher body fat, good fat loss skills. How long are you going to be doing it for? Faster fat loss might be doable, and it might be a good thing for you. On the opposite end, you don't have a good habit base, you have poor sleep, you have a lot of metabolic stress, you're lean, high training output, fast fat loss usually leads to rebound and muscle loss. So again, it really depends on where you're at in this process. So that's why we have to look at somebody's body fat percentage. We have to look at their skills, and we can decide if fast or slow is going to be better, because you'll hear people go back and forth. Oh, you don't want to go super fast because that's going to be bad for you. Is it? Maybe not. Is slow better? Maybe not. For some people, slow is not. Now they're not going to be able to adhere to it. And it's like, when they have higher body fat levels, why would we not take advantage of that? Next big one, carbohydrate intake. Are you training hard, sleeping well? You have high activity levels. You have a leaner body comp. Higher carbs are probably going to be better for recovery and performance, and you're going to get more out of them. Again, maybe your habits are in place to where you can handle a higher carbohydrate load. Now, on the flip side, you have a low training demand, you have low activity levels, you're at a higher body fat, signs of insulin resistance. A more moderate to low intake or strategic timing might be better to help you. So we might have to focus on more specific things. And so carbohydrate intake is going to be one of those things that it's not that high or low is good or bad. It's what do you need at this particular time and where are you at? Because if somebody does have low training demand, they are not very active, well, you probably don't need as many carbohydrates as someone who's getting 10 to 15K steps, trains 5 times a week, and is on the leaner side. Let's take calorie surplus. This is a big one. Oh, you do need a calorie surplus. You don't need a calorie surplus. Again, if you're underweight, you're lean, you have large muscle gain goals, well, you're probably going to need a surplus to build muscle at some point. You're not going to be able to just be 150 pounds and get to 170 of pure muscle. Like, you're going to probably have to slowly do that over time and continue to gain weight over time and be in a surplus and fuel yourself enough. On the flip side, you're already carrying a little bit of extra body fat. You don't really train a ton. You have more poor glucose control. Maybe you're not necessarily trying to absolutely maximize fat loss or muscle gain. It might just lead to more fat gain, and you might be better off being closer to maintenance for your building phases. And so this is where the calorie surplus is a big one, where it's you don't need a surplus, you do. And it just really depends on where you're at and what your goal is there. So if we're going to apply it, we need to make sure it's in the right position. But you take 45-year-old Karen who wants to get leaner, and somebody's, oh, you have been in deficit, you need to gain weight. And now she gains extra body fat, and then she's further away, and we're not doing her any service. Where you take 30-year-old Tim who is 10% body fat and he wants to get freaking huge. Okay, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to be in a small deficit or a maintenance to be able to build muscle. Like, you're going to have to push your scale weight up a little bit. What about HIIT and hormone? That's another thing. Oh, hey, don't do HIIT because it messes with your hormones. Only if your overall stress load is already high. So HIIT itself is not necessarily just going to tank hormones or mess you up or impact your hormones or things like that. But if we do too much of it, and that's the only thing we do, and we're just trying to burn as many calories as possible, and our overall stress load is already high on our body, we're in a deficit, we're not sleeping well, circadian disruption, high stress, high psychological stress, the list goes on, then that's going to potentially be a problem. And this is the nuance that most programs miss. They apply tools in isolation without seeing if your body's even in the right place to benefit from them. So that's why you have to be careful with people that preach a specific protocol. Or, hey, you don't need a calorie surplus. Hey, you do absolutely need a calorie surplus. Like, it's just very context dependent, and we can get super confused on what we need. And so any of these tools can work, but we have to understand where we're currently at. And so this is why inside the performance recomp method, I don't just hand out generic protocols like, oh, here's my low carb approach that you need to do. Like, again, maybe for you, that's not what we need. But a lot of this too, a lot of things I talk about, it's also genetics. So some people, based on blood work, whatever it may be, they may not respond to certain things as well either. So again, we match the right tools to the right context based on where your body is at right now. So here's some things that I consider when making those decisions. Your current stress load, physical, emotional, and lifestyle. So your total allostatic load on your body, because if that's super high, we have to figure out what fits like that. That's where maybe pushing a super large deficit or doing a ton of training is not going to work at that time. We need to get that in check first before we can apply that. But also that's going to dictate what we're going to do from a nutrition and from a training perspective. Your sleep quality and consistency. So where's that at? Are you getting good sleep? If not, we need to look at how we can improve that. And then that's also going to impact what we do from a training and nutrition perspective. Your recovery capacity, and this is going to come down to more subjective measures, but it could be some objective through HRV and resting heart rate, but energy, soreness, libido, mood, we need to look at that. If libido's in the tank, mood's super bad, you're just not feeling like you're recovering, again, we need to look into that. We need to figure out, okay, what's the right approach for you there? Your training history and output, not just lifting, but what's also your cardio steps and activity. What have we done recently for that? What does that look like? Do we need to adjust that because of where your body's currently at? Your nutrition history. When was the last time you went into a deficit? What did that look like? Have you ever gone into a surplus, whether it be on accident or not? Are you even consistent with nutrition? So these are things that we need to look at. What is your current body composition, and what are your recent changes? Just as an example, I've had multiple clients come in and be like, hey, I want to do a building phase, and their thought of a building phase, they need to gain a bunch of weight. I look at their body composition and it's, yeah, we probably don't need to do that right now. You would be better off like being close to maintenance, maybe a very small deficit and pushing that. Now, but maybe that person just recently did a deficit, so maybe we need to be closer to maintenance. So again, that's going to be an example. But I've also seen people that are like, hey, I need to do a fat loss phase. And I just don't think that's going to be the best for you right now. Next, again, like glucose regulation and metabolic health. And that's typically going to be done through like blood work and things like that. So seeing where they're at there. With that, it's, hey, if that's not good, we probably don't need to push a surplus right now for you. And it's also going to impact our nutrition protocols and strategies and what we do there. So somebody that has maybe poor glucose regulation and poor metabolic health, we may do things like maybe you add in a little bit of fasted training there. Maybe you do some sort of time restricted eating thing. You take someone who has been chronically under eating, maybe the fasted training isn't the right thing for them. Maybe they don't need to focus on time restricted eating. So there's just many different things there. And then again, your goals, preferences, time availability, and lifestyle like that. We have to take that in consideration too. If for you, your lifestyle, it's, hey, I need to train fasted. Okay, then that's what we got to do. Then we got to figure out how we can make the rest of the day work, because otherwise it's like we can't try and fit. And that's the problem with when somebody's super protocol based on, okay, this is the best way to do it. It's like sometimes we try to fit a square peg in a round hole. We get stuck and we don't realize why things are going on. And I just feel like if anything, that hurts somebody's confidence long term of what they need to do. And then they get them to feel like they're broken because this worked for that person. Why doesn't it work for me? And so this is where you get all these questions. So we need to look at your goals as well too. What do you want to do? Are you not necessarily trying to get to 10% body fat? Then that's again going to change things. The real results don't come from random strategies. They come from using the right strategy at the right time based on where your current body is at. And that's what we do inside the performance recomp method. Because also I feel like when you do these things, you learn about your body specifically, which I think is super important. You start to learn what works for your body. And again, you get out of that, hey, I'm broken kind of mindset, because you're not. It's just you probably haven't had someone that actually looked at where you're currently at, or again, you're just basing it off of things that you see on the internet. And hey, this person says I need to do this, so I do that without really taking things into context. So that's another big thing that I try and do with clients is really work on learning about your body specifically and what you respond with and what you need to do where you're currently at there. And I think now, and this is why clients kind of break out of that cycle and they see lasting change, because they figure out that once they're not broken, they just need to figure out what works for them and take into consideration where they're currently at versus just applying random things. But then they also, as I said, learn about their body too, how their body responds to certain things. Hey, maybe my body doesn't respond very well to fasted training. I didn't realize that was what went on when I did fasted training, right? Or whatever method. Doesn't have to be fasted training there. Again, it can be what happens to your body when you're in a deficit, what happens to your body when you're in a surplus. And so to me now, if you're thinking about the performance recomp method, again, this is the final call for it. Enrollment's going to close here on the 19th. So make sure you either shoot me a message to get started, or again, you can apply for a free strategy call in the show notes there, but make sure you get on the books. But I think this is a perfect time for someone who's on the fence to get in and at least check it out, because we're going to be heading into the holiday season. I think a lot of people wait till after the holiday season and they're just kind of, oh, I'll wait to get into something afterwards because I'm not going to be able to fully get into it. But I think if you can set yourself up to learn more about your body, you can figure out where your body's currently at. That's going to allow you to be able to work through this challenging period of time there. And now you can be ahead heading into the new year to get started, and you just have a greater understanding of your body, and boom, you'll be able to set yourself up for effective fat loss right off the bat. But maybe even now, by learning more about your body, you're going to see that change even during this challenging time. So I think this is a perfect time really to get going and get an idea of learning the skills that you need, but also learning about your body and learning about where your body is at, instead of just waiting until after the holiday season when now you have to make up for that period of time. So again, the link to that is in the show notes. If you want to learn more about it, you can also set up a free strategy call, or you can just reach out to me on Instagram and we can chat about it more. So that's it for this episode, and I will chat with you guys next time.